Kyle here from allmediareviews.blogspot.com. It's Tuesday, June 20th. Yours truly's birthday, although I listed on a few different sites on different days for various reasons. But drink of choice. Well, I have a can of watermelon Waterloo, which my wife has kind of dismissed, and a lot of places don't have this. Only certain stores where I can find this flavor, specific flavor. Or I have like a half drink Ice Mountain raspberry lime, which, long story short, is possible with Ice Mountain. Before my wife and I were drinking Waterloo, even before I even got diabetes, I think we were drinking a lot of Ice Mountain sparkling water, carbonated water. And then the cans went away, and this flavor was her favorite. They were selling it at Costco and some other things. They were selling this the cans. Target, a lot of places had it, but they started bottling them instead in plastic bottles, which she hasn't been drinking these. I drink these alone myself, but I like this flavor. But I still mostly stick with Waterloo, but Ice Mountain's for the right flavor. Anyway, I've been doing videos recently. I'm doing the album of the year mid-season list, which is, to be brutally honest, it's kind of sparse. I mean, it's just 2023 has been slow year, maybe is the best way to put it. There's a lot of potential for stuff, but it's just not a year with a lot of just like go-to addictive records, unfortunately, for whatever reason. But anyway, I'll go over this as fast as I can. I was gonna do it as a with a screenshot, and I decided no, I would just do an actual video. I should also mention, I'll mention maybe a little more about this. I have a large stack of records, and I make a video for vinyl and some other stuff, records and other things to show, but I haven't. I'm waiting on actually 2 records, but one's supposed to be coming today, so if I have a chance, maybe I will finally make that. And for various reasons, I haven't been able to make those videos I've wanted to. So, alright, so just the top 10. I have Telephone, self-titled. It's only on Bandcamp and like maybe Spotify and like one other like Apple Music. It's one of the guys from Self, one of the Burris. He was on a couple of the Self records, and I'm forgetting his name. Mac Burris is in this band, but it's very power pop. I've talked about it a little bit. Telephone, self-titled album. I have, and again, these aren't in like a definitive order. These are 10 records. Vague order, but whatever. Themes for Great Cities, Talent. I found out about this through the Mew podcast. The composer is a Mew fan. Very cinematic, soundtrack-like. It's, not background music exactly, but it works as both that and, but it's all, I think, instrumental music. A lot of some samples and stuff. Anyways. Carolyn Polachek, Desire I Want to Turn Into You. I don't have like all these albums in a collage here, hopefully. This is not like her first record. It's like 3rd or 4th record. She has a very much of like an Imogen Heap element to a lot of it. There's a little bit of auto-tune in it, but it's not overused. But, at the same time, I'm not addicted to it. I like it. There's a few songs on it that I would say are go-tos. But I probably have only listened to it like 5 times, so the truth is I probably need to go back to it a little more to really get a full understanding about where it is. But, what is it? Sunset, maybe? Yeah, there's a few I Believe. The first few tracks, Welcome to My Island and Pretty Impossible, IN. So, yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily want to hear someone who sounds exactly like Imogen Heap, but in a way, this is like the first artist, singer, songwriter, female musician that kind of channels a lot of what I love about Imogen Heap, specifically the Speak for Yourself period, but, it's like all her music, really. Anyway, Carolyn Polachek, Desire I Want to Turn Into You. And shout out to Matt O'Leary, who originally talked about that. Back in February, I never heard of it. And then some people on the Dream Theater forums were talking about it too. So, La Priest, the former member singer of Late of the Pier from England. Newest album, Face Luna. Kind of like the Carolyn Polachek, where I've listened to it, but I haven't had as many like, demand. Oh, gotta heard that track from La Priest. But I remember liking it. It made me go back to his first record I liked so much more after listening to this. But yeah, the track On, I guess the first track is. But I mean, it's electronic. It's electronic rock of a sort. It's not exactly like Late of the Pier, but you can understand why a member of Late of the Pier, the guy from Late of the Pier, would make music that's similar to it like this. So anyway, Kimbra, A Reckoning's also on the list. I did a review of that. I kind of liked it a little more after seeing it live. I think she played the whole thing, almost the whole thing. And I like I could say about like half of it, but clearly to me this is the most different Kimbra record and the most, although it seems like she seemed to kind of be evolving, changing, which a lot of times that's being progressive anyways, but Save Me, Replay is decent. I mean, there's a sort of an urban element to it, which is throwing me off at points. Personal Space and New Habit. I mean, she took 5 years to make this record. Yeah, I mean, if this was, at the same kind of level, I guess you could say, of her first two records, I would be talking about it more. I'd be more sort of attached to it. But, and again, these aren't definitive rankings, but anyway. Kimbra's A Reckoning. So the new Sigur Rós album, well, I've only heard it a couple times. Atta, I put up on this list. And there's like 3 songs that are really good. Even though it's her first record, I think, since like 2014's Kavaikar, I think it was. And Sigur Rós are a band. They're, of course, one of the definitive quote-unquote post-rock bands. I lean toward their early stuff more than anything else. The Brackets record and Agaitas Burzum, those two. I like Talk, the one that followed the Brackets record. And then that soundtrack, Harfheim. I think that was Kavaikar, that was 2013, actually. And they've done other things, but nothing definitive, really. It's like But, I mean, I agree with... Yeah, they had a live album that was 2011. I agree with some of the comments on saying, well, this is not dramatically different. It's still, worth hearing. It's good to hear new music in their style. It's not like... Yeah, I mean, it's very cinematic. It's very textured and ethereal and dreamy at points. I hearted like 3 or 4 tracks on Spotify. I probably should have my Spotify list pulled up here just to cite them. But it just came out. I think it was on Friday. Yeah, I think it was just Friday. So it's only been out. It's been out less than a week, like 5 days or whatever. But I mean, the last few Sigur Rós records were kind of forgettable and not really. I wasn't attached to it. I mean, again, the way this year has been, normally I would. Skell or Skeel, Kletur. So track 3 and track 4, and then the last track 8. The song's called 8, the number 8, which is like 9 minutes and 41 seconds. So. Yeah, I mean, it's maybe partly because I haven't listened to Sigur Rós in a long time. It kind of is reinvigorating my interest, my passion for them. I've never been a massive Sigur Rós fan, but I've always respected them since I got into them. I started enjoying their music about 15 years. Was it? Yeah, it was like 2000, like 2005, 2006. It wasn't around when Brackets came out, so it's been almost 20 years. So let's see here. So that's on there. It's called Atta. ATTA. Where was I? I lost my place. There it is. So the top. Okay, so this is like the top 5. Jessie Ware. That exclamation point feels good. Exclamation point. The sequel, the follow up to What's Your Pleasure. I really like this Jessie Ware record. Scarily, I like it almost as much as my wife, who's sort of taken her from me, because when I met my wife, I already knew Jessie Ware, and I don't know if she'd even heard Jessie Ware. Jessie Ware kind of had like a Sade thing, but she's become much more R&B dance. But this album, more than the last record, which is really good, What's Your Pleasure, has more, or at least a lot more, brings in the jazz element. There's a lot of horns and saxophone and stuff like that, and I think that adds another element to her sound. Let's see. Free Yourself, that's a banger. What is it? Freak Me Now. Yeah, I mean, the Pearls is great. That some of these songs came out last year, maybe even 21, at least last year. I think a lot of them she wrote when she wrote What's Your Pleasure, so she kind of had. That's a common case when artists will record albums back to back, even the same year. Like I think that probably the King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, they end up writing or recording music. That's why they have more music for the next record. You think, well, it could be 5 years between records, then they put out a record the year after the last one. They just don't use those songs on the record, that the initial comeback record or whatever. This wasn't a comeback exactly. I don't remember how many years it had been like 4 years previous from What's Your Pleasure, but I mean the production's pristine. It is a pop record still, but the way she brought in some jazz elements. Oh, Begin Again, that's the one. So if I went, my go-tos are Free Yourself, Begin Again. I think it's Freak Me Now. Yeah, I mean my wife and I have listened to this in the car probably 3 or 4 times, and I've listened to it a couple times besides that. So yeah, I mean I'm not sure it's quite as memorable in some ways as What's Your Pleasure, but so it's sort of different in a good way, but ultimately is it a better record? I don't know. But my wife is not as into it as I am. She likes some of the songs, but she bought 2 different versions of the vinyl because she loved What's Your Pleasure so much. Anyway, number 4, in effect, the Black Belt Eagle Scout album, The Land, the Water, the Sky. Did the review, saw Black Belt Eagle Scout, a.k.a. Catherine Paul, a few months ago at the Cedar Cultural Center. I think it was even better live, but great record in a lot of respects. It's textured, sort of post-rock, noise. Is it slowcore? Points. I don't think it hurts like when she does it. Her vocal style is very kind of dreamy, a little bit like Mazzy Star, but I'm not a Mazzy Star fan. It's weird. I have this habit of liking certain artists who remind me of other artists I don't like, but I like them sounding kind of like those are. Kind of like the singer from Neil Harrity from Bruce Peninsula. Sounds like Tom Waits. I'm not a Tom Waits fan really, but I like the way his vocals work, which are kind of Tom Waits-like, work with Bruce Peninsula's music. If Catherine sounded a little bit like Mazzy Star, because it's Catherine Paul, and the music it goes with, I'm on board. I'm generally on board. It's kind of a very flowing record. I mean, there are some highlights, certainly. The first couple songs, My Blood Runs Through This Land, Sedna, Salmon Stinta. Is it Salmon Stinta? Yeah. But it's really kind of it's kind of a less is more kind of thing where you just listen to it and you kind of get brought in and, focused in when you hear the whole record. You kind of want to hear the whole record at once. But, the guitar textures especially. Some of the guitar solos and the textures are probably my favorite parts of it. So, all right, so number 3, this artist that was suggested, was it like a month ago from a friend on Facebook, Martin from England, Yves Tumor, who's kind of accepted by the hipster crowd, and this is not Yves Tumor's first record. This guy is a LGBTQ, supportive artist from Florida. Vocally sounds a little bit like, and he's the vocalist and he writes all the music and plays guitar, I think. A little bit like Kelly from Block Party, who also is gay himself. But the title of the album is a mouthful. I'll read it through and just call it Praise. Praise the Lord who chews, but which does not consume. Is it a semicolon? Semicolon, parenthesis, or simply, comma, hot between worlds, end comma. So just call it Praise the Lord. This is kind of less is more in some ways too. There's a great energy. I love the use of samples, which sounds like field recordings of like some kids at points, and Some of it's very energetic and catchy. Some of it's kind of heavy. It's not metal in the least, but it's a lot of kind of a genre bending, kind of like gender bending, genre blending, where it's psych rock. Yeah, it has kind of the the Eldrin, like indie tronica element at points. Some of it's very guitar driven. Some of it's kind of out there, but it doesn't overstay its welcome. And I guess the previous records from Yves Tumor were sort of more drum and bass and hip hop, so I can sort of understand where they went. It kind of took like a 45-degree turn. Now he's based in L.A. actually, but he's from Miami originally. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting on Rate Your Music, the last 3 records, this record and the last 2, but I think this one, yeah, I mean, Yves Tumor's not new. I mean, relatively new. It started in 2015, but and I remember thinking when I first heard it, I may have mentioned in that video that I wanted to go back and listen to the previous music, but I'm not sure stylistically I'll be into it as much. Yeah, neo-psych, art rock, something called hypnagogic pop, ambient sound collage, and post-punk, yes. But I mean, there's Meteora Blues. I remember saying sounds a little bit like a King's X song, because I could see that the vocal style almost sounds like Doug Pinnick. Operator is another favorite track. Echolalia, Echollalia, Echollalia, yeah. Ebony Eye. I remember when I got into this, I was just impressed by how the last half of it, especially, I enjoyed pretty much every track for different reasons. So, Yves Tumor, number 3, sort of. Again, these aren't really definitive orders. So the top 2, the new Squid album, which came out last was a week ago Friday on the 9th. I probably should still do a review of it. What I might do, and I don't have a physical copy. Again, we got the picture here, is I'll do a more detailed review if I get that at the point that I pick that up, hopefully in the next few weeks. I could do it today. Today's my birthday. I could do it today or tomorrow maybe. Maybe I will. I don't know. Oh, Monolith, which the first singles I played a fair amount. I'd hate to do that. And I've only listened to the whole thing about 4 times. I like it a lot, although I can't say I'm blown away by it as much as I hoped. So that's but it's still early. It is similar, but in a lot of ways it's not similar. It's a progression or a change from the debut album Bright Green Field in some ways. It's more avant jazz or avant-garde in some ways. I mean, to put it as simply as possible, Swing in a Dream, the first track, Undergrowth, The Blades definitely, and then the last track, if you had seen the bull swimming attempts, you would have stayed away. Those are probably my favorites. Green Light, I think I had hearted as well. And it seems like the other tracks, I've listened to them more. I'm enjoying different parts of them. Devil's Den and Siphon Song, the 2 songs that kind of follow the first track and then up to Undergrowth. I mean, some of it, the use of minor key elements goes a little further than I'd like at points. I think it's on either Undergrowth, might be on Undergrowth, or After the Flash. But they use a lot of trumpet. They use trumpet in the debut album, but they use more trumpet. The electronic elements kind of remind me of what Everything's doing. I was thinking that Everything and Squid should do a tour together. I'm seeing Squid next February in Minneapolis, but it's not with Everything. It's still an enjoyable record. I mean, I have become a little bit of a fanboy, I suppose, in a way, and I prefer them still incredibly more than Black Midi, and without question better than Black Country New Road at this point. That being said, it's just sort of like I listen to it and I'm like, I like this, but how much am I going to listen to this throughout the year? I don't know. So, in that sense, it's sort of, the jury's out a bit, but as a whole, I'm not blown away by it that I was hoping. Because the first couple singles, Swing in a Dream and The Blades is great. There's a video for it with this actress from England that's interesting. Not what I pictured for the song, but... So, number 1, I mentioned it a few different times over the last few months. Hotel of Laughing Trees, Faraway Friends, great comeback record. I do have that, of course, physical copy. I like every song on here. There's, songs that Mirrors Up especially, Song Lost Season, the Faraway. It's like, it works in some ways the way I love their debut album so much, where it's just track after track I enjoy. And there's new stuff that I've discovered, April Afternoon, Starman Underwater, At the Bottom of the Night. It's a great epic closer. So, yeah, is it prog? It is prog of a sort. There's a Bruce Springsteen reference in here. And the singer AJ Estrada recently, the last few years, got reintroduced. Started listening to more Bruce Springsteen. He mentions Dancing in the Dark. Of course, I like dance. I love a lot of Springsteen's albums. Like the summer of '95 was the summer I knew Springsteen before that, but I dove totally into his whole catalog. I included the '70s stuff I enjoy the most, but Born to Run especially. But I always liked, Born in the USA. I like a lot of The River. Nebraska even has a few tracks I enjoy. And I don't know if it was just just Born in the USA that AJ was listening to, but yeah, Faraway Friends is at the top of the hill for 2023 at this point. Now let me just briefly go over a few other things. I know this is going to be like a 30-minute video, and I apologize. EPs, Dirpa Robbins, Prelude to Firebird. 4 tracks, all excellent. Especially because the fact they're putting out Firebird initially in 2023 and then in 2024 probably in vinyl. I wouldn't want to put this in the rankings, but there's 4 tracks on this. All of them are good. Shell Pink, which is an EP called The Warmth of the Sun, which came out just a few weeks ago. I think it was the 2nd or maybe on the 9th. This is Josh Ralt, who formerly of The Deer Hunter and of Mercies. I really like those songs. It makes me wonder when he's put out a full album, and he's put some other songs out under the Shell Pink label, the name. I don't know why it's different than Mercies. Mercies was a band. This is just him. This is his, pseudonym, artist name, etc. But, Warmth of the Sun has 3 really good songs on it. Aji, June Songs Volume 1, which I know Lorenzo from Alt Pro Core and a lot of other people do really like Aji. I can understand it. They're chamber rock. They are good. I still haven't fully gotten over that. They always sound like a poor man's Anathello to me, but the songs are still good. It's a little bit like the same thing as like with Sigur Rós, New Sigur Rós, or similar kind of music. But if it's good, it's still good. It's worth hearing. More of the same. So singles. There's been a whole boatload of singles, which are precursors to new albums. Childish Japes released 4 singles. Crossbreeze, especially. Another Dose. I really love that song. Future Tense and Not Made for This. Not Made for This? I typed that in wrong. Can't wait for their new record whenever it comes out. It's supposed to be a double album. It could be any week, any month now. Dream the Electric Sleep, Beyond Repair, After the Fallout, Forged in the Furnace. Liking a lot of them. I haven't listened to all of them that much, but they are using trumpet, if I recall. No, I'm thinking of the next band, East of the Wall. But yes, Dream the Electric album comes out next month, actually. My bad. East of the Wall, Detonator, Gauntlet, Unfamiliar, Glass Ceiling, and Hegemon's Dilemma. They're using trumpet. And East of the Wall, their album is coming out on the 30th. So we got those 2 albums coming out within a few weeks of each other. Naiku, he has two tracks. He's from Eldrin, one of the secondary singer from Eldrin, one of the songwriters. Sad State and Best Friend. Peter Gabriel's released 5 songs. Panopticon, The Court, Playing for Time, I/O, 4 Kinds of Horses, and Road to Joy. So 6 of them. I've listened to them sparingly. I want to hear the whole thing, though. Nothing's been amazing, but they're good. They sound like a lot of Peter Gabriel's music. More like ethereal, textured, music. Team Me has put out 2 really good songs. The Apple of My Eye and Return to the Riverside. I don't know if we're going to know another Team Me album, but that goes back to my theory about they put out an album last year and they had other songs that didn't get released. They were just needed to mix them and stuff. They didn't go on the record. And then the Guess Who, The King, especially The King, is a great track. Plain D'Amour is the title of their new album coming out in a few weeks, and Headline. So I have a long list of, I'll just kind of lightning round this. Stuff that I listened to once, or maybe have a few songs to go back to. Crown Lands, Fearless, Deerhoof, Miracle Level, Extreme Rise, Janelle Monáe, The Age of Pleasure. I like a few of those songs on that album. Unfortunately, it's too lyrical to me. I did the video on Janelle. Loved her past work, but you know, Nickel Creek, Celebrants, Ray Alder too. I like a few songs on that. Scott Matthews, Restless Lullabies, Sparks, The Gift is crying in the girl is crying in her latte. New Pornographers continue as a guest. The Winery Dogs 3, and yes, Mirror to the Sky. Then I haven't heard or heard enough. The Cynics Refocus, which is just a remixing of Focus, which doesn't really belong in the Albums of the Year list, but whatever, I put it on there. Exploring Birdsong, Dancing in the Face of Danger EP, Ice Age, Wave of Loss and Power, Isan, The Fascination Street Sessions EP, Jason Bieler and the Baron von Bielski Orchestra, Postcards from the Asylum, Jethro Tull's Rock Float, Kimono, local band from Minnesota, prog band, very retro, sounding like Yes, Mind Out of Mind, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. This challenges the Yves Tumor title. Petro Dragonic Apocalypse, or Dawn of Eternal Night, an annihilation of planet Earth and the beginning of merciless damnation. That's their like 18, 19, 20, 23rd album in the last 9 years, you know. Metallica 72 Seasons, Enable of Viscera's Exul. I don't like blast beats with their music anymore, unfortunately. Okay, Good Night, The Fox and the Bird. I don't like Gent. Sleep Token, Tila Volta or whatever. The Mars Volta, Quo Dios, T Madija Mi Corazon, which is like remixes, different versions of their album from last year, which I barely got into. And Yossi Sassy and the Oriental Rock Orchestra, Prediluvian. So, anyway, it's a mouthful. What have you listened to for 2023? What are your favorite albums? Are you kind of in the same position as I am, where, you know, it's been a slow year? I'm not listening to Haken. I'm not a fan of Haken. I'm not listening to a lot of these albums. That Kite Parade band. There's a whole boatload of the prog scene of Askervit. You know, there's a whole boatload of titles that keep on showing up. And who is it? The Lemon Twigs. It's just not for me, unfortunately. So there's a lot of stuff that I haven't listened to. A lot of the people on YouTube and on the blogs and on the message boards, social media have talked about. But, you know, are you kind of the feeling, in some ways at least, that we're waiting for that wave or a few, like, sort of just blue chip records? I mean, stuff coming out later this year that we know of. You know, I mentioned some of them. There's still, the rest of this month, there is the Guess Who. I did listen to the Steve Lukather the record the other day, and it was just kind of forgettable, unfortunately. But there's just stuff coming out just in a few weeks that I'm still looking forward to. I'm not a fan of Big Train. A lot of people are getting obsessed with that too. But the Guess Who, Playing D'Amour, East of the Wall, Neutral Second on the 30th. Closer in Moscow, I'm not a fan of. They're just a poor man's Mars Volta to me. Thy Catafalque or whatever. I don't know. A lot of people know that band. Local Natives have an album called Time Will Wait for No One on the 7th of July. Dream the Electric Sleep on the 14th, the week after. American Mystic. Then we jump into August. There's nothing on that list that I mean, people are excited about Neil Morris's album, The Dreamer, Joseph Part 1, Christian, or whatever, biblical. I haven't been listening to Neil Morris's music in over 20 years, so. And then in September, you have Steven Wilson's, on the 29th, The Harmony Codex. Baroness just released an album called Stones coming out on the 15th, but again, Convertilac, who are like a Baroness clone, they're putting on an album that same month. It's like the same artwork. Southern Empire, they're like Transatlantic Moon Safari, big like retro prog, another world that people are going to be obsessed with them. I know the previous band, the members that people loved as well, which I can't remember the name of, but of course I've kind of jumped ship on. I don't like the last 3 Transatlantic albums that much, so. Dolly Parton's Rockstar in November, and then Peter Gabriel's Show in December. But, you know, there's all this other stuff that we just don't know. The biggest piece of news is Dredge just changed their social media icon, which Dino Campanella has been posting clips on, like, Instagram, little audio clips with little, EQs and stuff like that for the past 2 years they've been working on. So this might finally be the sign that we're going to get. We're finally going to get... something new from the band, after, it'll be 12 plus years, 2011's Chuckles and Myths or Squeezy. Yeah, I mean, there's just Paul Meany's motivational speaker from Mute Math, DK the drummer, also from Mute Lockers Volume 1, Durpa Robbins' Firebird. When we find out when the release, that's going to be a huge deal. I think that's probably earmarked as my biggest anticipated record once it comes out. That's definitely going to come out this year. John Anderson's A Song from Zamrin, Son of Elias is something I'm looking forward to if it comes. Moron Police's double album, I think it is. Pachinko. Polyphonics 3's Salvage Enterprise, supposedly this summer, but, you know, who knows? It's been talked about for many years. Last album they put out was like 6, 7, 8 years ago, at least. I gotta take that one off of there. Unitopia, that's the band that was related to Southern Empire. Brian Scary, the Childish Japes I mentioned. You know, some of these bands that have put out songs and not albums. Childish Japes album is a big deal. In Vain, Giant Sky, Mayor Hawthorne, Never Ending My Lights Again. Who knows? That's ever coming out. Everybody says stuff. Matt Page from Dream the Electric Sleep also has a solo record. Small Links Sing Ships. That's another massive one for me. I mean, that along with Durpa Robbins and If Dredge does come out. Self, another massive one. I absolutely adore the last music that Self released and pretty much all his stuff. Subterranean Masquerade. The Reign of Kindo, Wither and Bloom maybe. And I haven't been going to the town hall things every week on the Patreon, unfortunately. I'm guilty of that, but it's just a matter of conflict of times. And the Tea Party, there's some stuff in Pain and Salvation, you know, Enchant, the Red Paintings. So, and, you know, I mean, there's stuff looking forward to next year, but there's a lot of stuff that, you know, Klimt 1980s and more. There's stuff that could come out, likely will come out, but also will definitely not come out even though we're anticipating it. So I think it's just a matter of, and there's stuff that, you know, I don't know about or that will come out that I don't know about. I've never heard of Eve's Tumor at the beginning of the year. You know, 2 years ago I didn't know who Squid was, so that's kind of the way it is. But anyway, please put your top 5, 10 albums of the year if you want to. I'd love to hear them and see those lists. And thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.